As soon as we saw it, we knew it was something completely different.
Pearl Harbor that we confront could very well be a cyber attack.
We will suffer a catastrophic.
One breach, one sophisticated strike, could bring even the most secure systems to their knees, forever changing the landscape of digital defense.
But I also admit this was a really big idea too. The rest of the world is looking at this and saying, clearly someone has legitimated this kind of activity as acceptable international conduct. The whole world is watching.
The story
Fear the most.
Well, I think that they fear somebody using something like this.
A piece of code capable of silently infiltrating critical systems, manipulating them from within without leaving a trace. Even after years of building firewalls and strengthening cybersecurity, a single cyber attack could still alter the course of history.
will suffer a catastrophic cyber attack that
Will equal or surpass the threat from counterterrorism in the foreseeable future.
There's a strong likelihood that the next Pearl Harbor that
How could such a weapon be unleashed? And what would be its ultimate target? In 2010, the world would witness the impact of this kind of cyber warfare, known as Stuxnet. Discovered by Sergey Ulisen from Virus Blockada, Stuxnet wasn't just any malware, it targeted Siemens industrial control systems, exploiting vulnerabilities in Microsoft Windows. Although it wasn't the first attack on industrial systems, Stuxnet stood out because it was the first malware capable of spying on and disrupting industrial operations. What made it even more dangerous was its inclusion of a programmable logic controller rootkit, a feature that allowed the malware to hide deep within the system. Stuxnet's true goal became clear when researchers found that it targeted Siemens SCADA system, which manage industrial processes. Symantec found that 60% of Stuxnet infections in 2010 were in Iran. But why? The malware was engineered to target Siemens SCADA systems, specifically those managing uranium enrichment. This pointed to Iran's nuclear program as the primary target. Experts like Mikko Hyppönen and Kaspersky Lab concluded that Stuxnet was too sophisticated to be the work of ordinary hackers, suggesting government involvement. This was later confirmed when the US and Israeli governments were revealed as key players in Operation Olympic Games, which used Stuxnet to slow down Iran's nuclear program. In 2012, Iran reported another wave of Stuxnet infections targeting industries in the Hormozgan province. That same year, Eugene Kaspersky mentioned that a nuclear power plant in Russia had also been infected, though it remained secure due to its isolation from the public internet. Stuxnet was first identified by the security company Virus Blockada in June 2010. Interestingly, it wasn't until journalist Brian Krebs posted about it on July 15, 2010, that it gained widespread attention. Virus Blockada initially called it rootkit.tmp-hider, but Symantec later renamed it W32.Stuxnet. The worm's name comes from a combination of keywords found within the software, .stub and mrxnet.sys. Stuxnet was originally intended to target Iran's Natanz nuclear facility. However, due to a programming error in a software update, the worm accidentally spread beyond its target.
2 years ago, a computer virus called Stuxnet infected and damaged the Iranian nuclear program. And that may sound like a good thing, but we are now learning.
An engineer unknowingly carried the malware home, connecting to the internet, which helped spread the infection further. Hal Kaspersky initially estimated that Stuxnet began spreading around March or April 2010. The first known variant appeared as early as June 2009. However, Symantec researchers later discovered evidence that an earlier version of Stuxnet had been used in 2007 to attack Iran's nuclear program. In 2015, Kaspersky revealed that the Equation Group had used the same zero-day attacks as Stuxnet in other malware, suggesting collaboration. In 2019, further research indicated that 4 distinct malware groups, including the Equation Group, Flame, and Duke, had worked together under the umbrella term Gossip Girl. According to a study by Symantec, the countries most affected by the initial spread of Stuxnet were Iran, Indonesia, and India. Other nations impacted included Azerbaijan, the United States, and Pakistan, alongside several other countries that made up a smaller portion of the infections. Iran, however, was the most heavily hit, with nearly 59% of all infected computers located there. In response to the attack, Iran significantly strengthened its cyber defense capabilities and was suspected of retaliating against US banks in an operation known as Operation Ababil. Unlike typical malware, Stuxnet caused little damage to computers or networks that didn't meet specific configuration criteria. The creators of the worm carefully designed it to target only designated systems, with Symantec noting it was a marksman's job. While Stuxnet could spread widely, it would become dormant on machines without Siemens software.
Well, somebody created a virus that was designed to hit one specific target in the entire world, something that had a bunch of a certain configuration of equipment that the computer or the virus was able to determine if it was the right target. This is what it was looking for. Yeah. It's one of the most ubiquitous pieces of machinery in the world. It's called a programmable logic computer, and it's just a piece of plastic with some chips in it, and it controls factory floors all over the world. This will tell you what chemicals and what amounts to put into a product that you're making. It'll tell you when to heat up the plant or cool it down. Could be used, for example, to shut off a cooling system at a nuclear reactor. And it was really the first virus to attack this little piece of equipment.
Additionally, it included safeguards to limit the worm's spread to no more than 3 computers per infected machine, and was programmed to erase itself by 24 June 2012. For its multi-layered attack, Stuxnet targeted 3 key areas. First, it exploited vulnerabilities in the Windows operating system, allowing it to spread and infect various machines. Second, it focused on Siemens industrial software applications, including PCS7, WinCC, and Step7, which all run on Windows. These applications are critical for controlling and monitoring industrial processes. Lastly, the worm specifically targeted Siemens S7 programmable logic controllers, which are essential for automating and regulating industrial machinery. By compromising these systems, Stuxnet could manipulate operations without detection. Windows Infection Stuxnet targeted Windows systems by exploiting 4 zero-day vulnerabilities, an unprecedented move in malware attacks. In addition to these, it used the CPLINK vulnerability, and another exploited by the Configure worm. The worm initially spread through infected removable drives, such as USB flash drives, using Windows shortcut files to execute malicious code. Once inside a network, it employed peer-to-peer remote procedure call, RPC, techniques to infect other systems, even those not directly connected to the internet. What made Stuxnet particularly unusual was its use of 4 zero-day exploits. Zero-day vulnerabilities are highly valuable. These exploits included a remote code execution vulnerability on systems with printer sharing enabled, and the LNKPIF vulnerability, which allowed file execution when an icon was viewed in Windows Explorer without any user interaction. The malware was notably large, around 0.5 MB, and written in multiple programming languages, including C and C++. It had both user mode and kernel mode rootkit capabilities under Windows, allowing it to remain hidden. To install itself without detection, Stuxnet's device drivers were digitally signed with certificates stolen from J-Micron and Realtek, 2 companies based in Taiwan's Hsinchu Science Park. The use of legitimate digital signatures allowed it to bypass security notifications and stay undetected for an extended period until the certificates were eventually revoked by VeriSign. Its command and control servers were based in Denmark and Malaysia, enabling the malware to receive updates and potentially conduct industrial espionage by transmitting collected data. Experts believe that Stuxnet required an unprecedented level of development effort in malware history. Crafting its extensive capabilities would have demanded a team of highly skilled programmers, deep knowledge of industrial processes, and a focus on targeting industrial infrastructure. Eric Byers, with his extensive experience with Siemens systems, noted that writing the code would have taken many man-months, if not man-years. Symantec estimates that the development team consisted of between 5 and 30 people and took 6 months to prepare. Reports from The Guardian, the BBC, and the New York Times suggest that only a nation-state could have produced such complex code. The self-destruct and other safeguards within Stuxnet further imply that a Western government might be responsible for its creation. Initially, software security expert Bruce Schneier criticized the 2010 coverage of Stuxnet as speculative hype, but by 2012, he confirmed a link between Stuxnet and Iran's Natanz nuclear lab.
Centrifuges in Iran at a particular place.
Right. What it did was, it essentially, the virus this sits in between the operators of the plant and the machinery on the floor. And what the virus was able to do was able to get in here, rewrite the software, and tell the machines to do something entirely different without the operators of the plant knowing it.
You spoke in your piece, for people who didn't see it, with retired...
January 2024, De Volkskrant revealed Dutch engineer Erik van Sabben was the saboteur responsible for infiltrating Iran's underground nuclear complex in Natanz. In September 2010, Ralph Langner, who uncovered Stuxnet's impact on PLCs, publicly speculated that the malware originated from Israel and was aimed at Iranian nuclear facilities. Yet Langner's stance shifted when he later said at a TED conference in February 2011, "My opinion is that the Mossad is involved, but that the leading force is not Israel. The leading force behind Stuxnet is the cyber superpower. There is only one, and that's the United States." Kevin Hogan, Senior Director of Security Response at Symantec, revealed that around 60% of the infected systems were in Iran. In September 2010, Haaretz raised a startling claim. Stuxnet might have been engineered to sabotage the uranium enrichment facility at Natanz, where the centrifuge operational capacity had dropped over the past year by 30%. By November 23, 2010, reports surfaced that uranium enrichment at Natanz had halted several times due to major technical issues. Could these issues be connected to a serious nuclear accident in early 2009? Which supposedly led to Gholam Reza Aghazadeh, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, resigning. The Washington Post revealed that IAA cameras at Natanz recorded the sudden removal of approximately 900 to 1,000 centrifuges while Stuxnet was active. Did Iranian technicians manage to replace these centrifuges quickly, limiting the disruption to uranium enrichment? Iran's response unfolded with intriguing developments. On September 24, 2010, the Associated Press revealed that the semi-official Iranian Students' News Agency announced a meeting of experts from the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran. What were they discussing? How to remove Stuxnet from their systems? Was this evidence of a significant cyber threat? David Albright speculated that Western intelligence agencies had long sought to sabotage Iran's nuclear ambitions. Was Stuxnet a culmination of these efforts? Meanwhile, the head of the Bushehr nuclear power plant told Reuters that the worm had only infected staff personal computers. Reza Taghipour, Iran's telecommunications minister, asserted that it caused no serious damage to government systems. Mahmoud Liai, director of information technology at the Iranian Ministry of Industries and Mines, suggested an electronic war has been launched against Iran. This computer worm is designed to transfer data about production lines from our industrial plants to locations outside Iran. Iran mobilized a team to combat the infection. With over 30,000 IP addresses affected, officials faced a rapidly spreading problem, compounded by Stuxnet's ability to mutate. Iran set up its own cleanup systems, advising against using Siemens SCADA antivirus, suspected of updating rather than removing the malware. Could the antivirus be part of the problem? Hamid Alipour, deputy head of Iran's government IT company, warned the attack is still ongoing and new versions of this virus are spreading. He claimed that despite initial cleanup efforts, new versions of the virus were emerging. On November 29, 2010, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad acknowledged the virus had caused issues with the centrifuges at Natanz, stating they succeeded in creating problems for a limited number of our centrifuges with the software they had installed in electronic parts. On the same day, 2 Iranian nuclear scientists were attacked in separate car bombings near Shahid Beheshti University in Tehran. Majid Shahriari, a quantum physicist, was killed killed, while Feridun Abbasi, a high-ranking Ministry of Defense official, was wounded. Wired speculated whether these attacks indicated that Stuxnet's creators believed the worm alone wasn't enough. An analysis by the Federation of American Scientists, FAS, revealed that Iran's enrichment capacity actually grew in 2010. Could Iran have intentionally spread misinformation to suggest Stuxnet was more effective than it truly was? According to European and US officials, as well as private experts, Iranian engineers managed to neutralize and purge Stuxnet from their nuclear machinery.
Something completely different. And red flags started to go up straight away.
The mystery surrounding Stuxnet's origins has long been debated. Speculation points to Israel, with many media reports and experts suggesting its involvement. Richard A. Falkenrath, former senior director for policy and plans within the US Office of Homeland Security, hinted at Israeli involvement. Yossi Melman of Haaretz also speculated, noting that Meir Dagan, former Mossad head, had his term extended in 2009 for his role in critical projects. In 2010, Israel publicly confirmed that cyber warfare was a cornerstone of its defense strategy. While the country remained tight-lipped about Stuxnet, some Israeli officials reportedly broke into wide smiles when questioned about it, intensifying suspicions. American presidential advisor Gary Samore also reacted with a smile, fueling further speculation, although American officials suggested the virus had foreign origins. The Telegraph reported that Haaretz hinted at Stuxnet's connection to Israeli security forces through a retirement video for Gabi Ashkenazi, then IDF Chief of Staff. Scott Borg from the US Cyber Consequences Unit had suggested in 2009 that Israel might prefer a cyber attack over a military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. Borg noted Israel certainly has the ability to create Stuxnet, and it would be virtually impossible to prove who did it.
The next Pearl Harbor that we confront could very well be a cyber attack.
We will suffer a catastrophic cyber attack. The clock is ticking.
And there's reason for concern. For more than a decade, the U.S. military establishment has treated cyberspace as a domain of conflict, where it would need the capability to fend off attack or launch its own. That time is here because someone sabotaged a top-secret nuclear installation in Iran with nothing more than a long string.
Reports suggest the United States played a significant role in Stuxnet's creation, potentially in collaboration with Israel. According to one source, there is vanishingly little doubt that it played a role in creating the worm. Under a secret program initiated by the Bush administration and advanced by Obama, the US sought to disrupt Iran's nuclear ambitions through cyber sabotage. A leaked cable revealed that the US was advised to use covert means to target Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Between the two.
If the United States were involved in this or were to become involved in something like this,
Right.
how high would the authorization have to go?
You're asking a theoretical question.
Right.
I'm going to give you a theoretical answer based upon my experience in government. Something of this nature gets approved in the West Wing.
General Hayden said a lot of things in which he made space between the fact when he was in government and making policy and where he is now.
Yes.
But he knows a lot of stuff.
He knows a lot of stuff, and he knows a lot of stuff that he can't say. And he was president or director of the CIA for George Bush at a time this would have been green-lighted.
What do they fear the most?
Well, I think that they fear somebody using something like this against us. And the thing that's really interesting about it is that this virus, as General Hayden said, it's not like a conventional weapon that destroys itself along with the target. It's out there for people to copy. So you can actually go online and find the formula for making this, the code.
It's the footprints that Cesar, I think you referred
Yes.
to it, or someone in the report did last night. It really is a Pandora's box that now has been opened.
Right. And somebody else could turn around and modify it and use it against us if they can find the way into our computer system.
John Bumgarner, a former intelligence officer, published an article outlining strategies for cyber attacks on centrifuges, lending credibility to these claims. In a 2012 interview, retired General Michael Hayden acknowledged Stuxnet as a good idea, but warned that it set a precedent for cyber weapons that could be used by others. Sean McGurk, a former DHS cybersecurity official, noted that Stuxnet's source code could now be modified for new targets, stating, "They opened the box. It's not something that can be put back."
Do you think it was an act of war?
I would not call it an act of war. Look, given my own background, Steve, I mean, I've got this whole universe of things between peace and war that are called covert actions. I don't think whoever did this considered it to be an act of war. The Iranians have not quite responded to it as if it were an act of war. It's in that space.
In April 2011, Iranian official Gholam Reza Jalali suggested that the United States and Israel were behind Stuxnet. Frank Rieger noted that intelligence agencies from 3 European countries believed Stuxnet was a joint US-Israel operation, indicated by the differing code styles. However, some experts doubt this collaboration due to the low level of trust between the two nations' intelligence agencies. A Wired article on General Keith B. Alexander mentioned that Stuxnet was developed by the NSA with the CIA and Israeli intelligence. Other potential contributors to the attack include China, Jordan, France, and possibly Siemens. Speculation exists that the virus may have spread through USB drives from Russian contractors. And in 2019, it was reported that an Iranian mole working with Dutch intelligence may have introduced Stuxnet via a USB drive. The UK has denied any involvement in Stuxnet's creation. In July 2013, Edward Snowden confirmed that the US and Israel cooperatively developed the worm. Reports indicate that the NSA attempted to use a version of Stuxnet to sabotage North Korea's nuclear program, aiming to replicate the attack used against Iran. However, North Korea's secrecy and isolation prevented the virus from being effectively deployed, and the operation failed. To prevent incidents like Stuxnet, both public and private sectors are enhancing control system security. The US Department of Homeland Security, DHS, National Cybersecurity Division, NCSD, manages the Control System Security Program, CSSP. This includes the Industrial Control Systems Cyber Emergency Response Team, ICS-CERT, which offers specialized response training and publishes best practices. In 2008, the DHS and Idaho National Laboratory, INL, collaborated with Siemens to address vulnerabilities in Siemens's process control system 7, PCS7, which Stuxnet exploited in 2009.
An historic thing. I mean, people, it's going to be a component of war from now on. This was an historic event, and it can be used to disrupt all sorts of things.
The conventional wisdom, or the perceived wisdom, is that this might have been done by the Israelis, but they could not have done it without U.S. help.
I don't think so. I think that everybody feels that it was mostly a U.S. operation, everybody that we have talked to.
A U.S. operation.
U.S. operation, but obviously there was a lot of intelligence that was picked up on the ground. Somebody knew how this plan operated, and certainly I think the Israelis have proved that they have a bunch of people on the ground there.
Various industry organizations and professional societies have developed standards and best practice guidelines for control system security. Effective prevention begins with a thorough risk analysis and control system security assessment.
The government had come to you and said, look, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? What would you have told them?
I would have strongly cautioned them against it because of the unintended consequences of releasing such a code.
Meaning that other people could use it against you?
Yes.
Or use their own version of the code?
Something similar. Son of Stuxnet, if you will.
As a result, what was once abstract theory has now become a distinct possibility. If you can do this to a uranium enrichment plant, why couldn't you do it to a nuclear power reactor in the United States or an electric company?
You could do that to those facilities.
Stuxnet.
I can't think of another area in Homeland Security where the threat is greater and we've done less.
After several failures, Congress is once again trying to pass the nation's first cybersecurity.
As the digital landscape evolves, the focus on cyber defense continues to grow. While Stuxnet's impact highlighted vulnerabilities, it also sparked advancements in security practices and awareness. The ongoing efforts by organizations like the DHS and industry groups underscore the importance of a multi-layered approach to protecting our control systems from evolving threats.
After several failures, Congress is once again trying to pass the nation's first cybersecurity law. And once again, there is fierce debate over whether the federal government should be allowed to require the owners of critical infrastructure to improve the security of their computer networks. Whatever the outcome, no one can say the nation hasn't been warned.